Hello everyone and welcome back to a best of 5 series of professional StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Zerg versus Terran, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on Berlingrad. We're spawning right here in the bottom right hand corner of the map, playing with the red Zerg drones and going for a very fast spawning pool. We have none other than a Rogue. Now I want to see, is he gonna take double gas? He is gonna take double gas, okay. His opponent in the opposite corner, is he gonna be able to defend against this hyper-aggressive Zerg cheese? We have Micro Jackson himself, and of course his actual name is ByuN. Well, that's not his actual name, it's the name that we know him under, okay? I don't actually know what his actual name is, but it doesn't really matter. Here's the problem for ByuN. He's going up against a Zerg player. Alright, he's going up against a Zerg player who is going for, yeah, a roach rush. So Berlingrad is a map with a very quick rush distance, meaning that you can get across the map very easily, and even with slow roaches and slow ravagers and all that, you're gonna be able to make your way to the other side very, very rapidly. Notice as well how Rogue here is mining the close-by mineral fields first, so you get benefit for having 2 drones right there on a mineral field, and he's forcing the workers to mine the close-by mineral fields first, just to be able to squeeze as much juice out of this Zerg early game as possible. This is gonna be a little bit awkward. Because ByuN, okay, I don't really know how this works out. ByuN is going for a triple Rex opener on one base with double gas. So this is kind of like a proxy Reaper opener, except that the barracks aren't proxied and building in the main base instead. Obviously these two, they are very familiar with each other's playstyles. They have played against each other, well, like 100 times probably over the last decade. They are previous world champions in SC2. They've definitely studied the opponent. So ByuN is going for what seems to be a triple Reaper Rex opener while building all of that inside of his main base. And Rogue is going for a roach cheese. Okay, at this point, roaches have been spotted. That SCV scout was awkwardly timed. So I've got a feeling that Rogue right now is figuring out that something's not quite right, and he actually stops making roaches and he goes back to droning instead. So this is like the most aggressive Zerg opener that you can go for on one base in the current meta of StarCraft 2, but Rogue is committing to only 3 Ravagers. That's really not that much. So ByuN is forced to defend right now with a bunker. He's making 3 Reapers at once, which I think originally was supposed to be on the offensive, but anyways, it's still going to be pretty good for him defensively, but he'll follow this up, Rogue that is, with a hatchery. Yeah, that makes the most sense. This is a very strange early game. This is what I love about StarCraft 2. Even within the first 3 minutes of a game, this is not a situation that I, well, can say I've really seen before. I watch a lot of StarCraft. I play a lot of StarCraft. I cast a lot of StarCraft. This is definitely not your conventional game. I think ByuN needs to be careful. He doesn't get too carried away with the Reaper tech, unless he wants to go for a full counter as well as soon as this is cleaned up, because it's only 3 Ravagers, which is really not that much. Anyways, even SCVs right here are pulled from the mineral line. Reapers are trying to set up what seems to be like a surround, although that was a bit of an awkward one. He does lose 2 of those Reapers for now. Not a terrible trade here for the Terran player, but he definitely needs to get more value out of those harassment units, right? Reapers, they fall off very quickly as soon as things like, for example, Zergling speed are done. But the thing is, with the opener that Rogue went for, yeah, you don't usually get your Zergling speed very quickly at all. I wouldn't be surprised if Rogue instead decides to spend his gas on more Ravagers to try and defend against the Reapers that are now inside of his main base. I wouldn't be surprised if these guys are practice partners. Because Rogue going for such a quick Roach Warren and then only committing to 3 Roaches just purely off of an SCV scout timing, it seems a little bit shaky. You know what else seems shaky? The micro right here on these Reapers. Yeah, not ideal. He's lost quite a few of them right now, going very aggressive. Roaches obviously are relatively tanky. He's still making more, by the way. Like, this is a 1-base Terran, so it's not like ByuN is in a phenomenal economical position either. I mean, for now, he's gonna be okay. But if Rogue manages to mine the minerals right here on the low ground, he's gonna be in a lot of trouble. Command Center does start up on the side of ByuN as well. He probably picked up on the fact that the spawning pool was not doing its little dance, although that's really hard to say. Basically, the spawning pool wiggles when it's researching something, and at that point, or at this point in the game, it can only ever be Zergling speed. So if suddenly like a bunch of Zerglings show up and go for the wraparound on those Reapers and then counterattack to kill the command center, that would also be an absolute disaster. But he's still got to commit to mass Reaper. There's a starport coming up, a tech lab as well, so I guess it's going to be a Reaper Banshee? When's the last time you've seen a Reaper Banshee in a game of StarCraft? He could even go into battle cruisers if he really wants to get very aggressive, I'm not sure. Anyhow, if it's up to ByuN though, the game never is going to take that long because he is still being very, very aggressive with the units that he's got. And at this point, I think the trade is going a little bit better. A couple of roaches though in the main base, probably protecting the mineral line over here. It's kind of risky to pull off your defenses right there in one location. So Rogue right now positioning his overlords in such a way so that he can see the jump up path and direction that those Reapers are taking. There's link speed finally starting up. So what exactly is the plan right here? Okay, it is going to be a Banshee together with Cloak. Well, Rogue at this point just started up link speed, so he's definitely not thinking about Cloaked Banshees. So you know what? Maybe Cloaked Banshees are going to be very, very efficient. Ooh, I love that bile. Yeah, that was a brilliant bile. Rogue recognizing that little sequence of events and already biling in advance as to where those Reapers would end up, because he knew that his opponent would panic and immediately back off. Some high-level decisions, but I'm a little bit afraid that Rogue is not expecting this whatsoever. He is scouting. Okay, you know what? Never mind. Who am I doubting? Okay, he did see a tech lab, I think. He did see a tech lab and he did see a green light. What exactly can it be right now? If he makes the assumption that that is Stimpback or something, he would be in a lot of trouble. He really needs to start up a couple of Spore Crawlers here very soon. He doesn't have a lair, so he doesn't have the option to go for movable detection. So Spore Crawlers are really the only way in which he can not die to Banshees. Banshee number 1 going across the map. Cloaking field is about 80% of the way done. Alright, this is the point. I think he saw the Banshee, so this is the point where he starts up the spores. They do build rather quickly, though. Probably better to have them done a little bit earlier, but I think he'll be okay. Yeah. I think he'll be fine. Alright, I was a little bit afraid that like two of those Banshees were gonna get into the Zerg mineral line and just murder everything before Rogue could actually get detection out, but only 2 of those drones end up going down. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, a Zergling Roach Ravager ball has shown up. Now, Banshees are great offensively, but obviously they're also fantastic defensively. Siege Tank at this point available too. Is he gonna siege it up? He needs to be very, very careful. No SCVs pulled away to try and keep that bunker alive, and this game number 1 is turning out to be a bit of a banger, especially because it kind of looks like we are... You know what? I was going to say, it looks like we are stabilizing. But I think I'm going to take that back. If these units would have been able to just trade out, I think it would have been better. Because instead now Rogue is losing them all awkwardly. Yeah, you know what? If he still had like... What was that? Like 5 roaches and like 30 Zerglings against this, it would be pretty decent. But right now, suddenly, his third base is in a lot of trouble. Okay, I thought for a second that this game was gonna stabilize, but it turns out that ByuN does obtain the victory right here, right now. All right, game number 2. We are on Blackburn. Ooh, look at the minimap. All right, ByuN is playing the keyboard apparently. Did he just set up a camera location control group for the base in the top right? Kinda seemed to me like he did. Maybe I'm crazy though. Anyhow, I've seen this in a bunch of replays lately where we can actually see what the player vision is on the minimap, and I personally love it. When I first noticed it, I wasn't entirely sure because I thought it might be a little bit distracting, but it's actually really cool to see how fast these guys are playing. Rogue apparently mostly just staring at the main base though. Okay, there you go. He was doing a little bit of that keyboard spamming too. Camera control groups. This is something that is, well, it's on by default in StarCraft 2, but it's not, the game doesn't do a very good job explaining to you exactly how it works. So I get questions about the camera control groups all the time and exactly how it works. So you can make control groups for structures, and you can make camera location hotkeys as well. So say, for example, you've got this hatchery selected and you hit Control+4 on the keyboard, it will make a control group for hotkey number 4. So whenever you then double tap 4, it will center once again on this hatchery, right? And obviously, you can add multiple control groups for multiple units as well, 2 control groups, multiple structure control groups, to make it easier to actually control your bases. Camera hotkeys and camera location hotkeys in SC2 are mostly used for the different bases. So there's a very good chance that ByuN is, for example, set up his main command center as hotkey group F1, or camera control group F1. The natural, F2. The third, F3, F4, F5, F6. And I guess he was looking at the top right too. F7, F8, right? Like there's different locations that you can hotkey that are relatively easy to hit. Now, what exactly is the advantage, right? Because that's what people always ask. Like, I can just click the minimap. If I want to go to my Zerk Natural, I can just click the minimap, right? The main advantage is just speed. So say, for example, you're in a, I don't know, you're at the 6-minute mark of a Zerk versus Terran, and the Terran is going for a drop in your main base, and in the meantime, there's Banshees at your third. If you know for a fact that your third base is always hotkey F3 in every single game that you play, you can hit F3 on the keyboard once, and it will immediately jump the camera to that location. If you then need to defend the main base at the same time, you can hit F1 to go back to that spot. If you have to go with your mouse towards the bottom left and click, there's a very significant delay. Now, obviously, I know this is all relative, right? I think it probably makes you, like, maybe 5 to 10% faster. And if you compare that to, like, I don't know, imagine, like, StarCraft 2 or is a sport, like, for example, the Formula 1, right? Or, like, I don't know, a 100-meter dash, right? If in any way, shape, or form, the teams could squeeze 10% more performance out of their vehicle or, you know, their sprinter, right? They would do whatever it took to try and achieve that, right? And the same goes for StarCraft 2. At the top level, it's very much so a game of percentages. If someone is 1% faster, like what exactly sets Cero apart from other very good players? It's hard to say. He's just a little bit, like, cleaner in every way, and part of that is speed. Right, so camera hotkeys, definitely something I recommend playing with if you can, well, get used to it, because it does definitely take a little bit of muscle memory to try and get the hang of it, but it's extremely helpful once you do get there. In StarCraft 1, you are not able to actually hotkey multiple structures to, well, one hotkey control group. So, say, for example, you want to put all of your, I don't know, gateways that you built right over here on hotkey control group 4. You can't. It's not possible. You can only hotkey one structure at once. So normally what people did in Brood War is they would make a camera location hotkey group. I guess there was a little bit of lag or something. Anyways, they would make like a camera location control group of where exactly those production structures are located, and then would click every single one of them, produce out of every single one of them, and then go back to, usually with another camera location hotkey, to where the actual battle was taking place. Macro is done a little bit differently in that game, but basically what I'm saying over the better part of 4 minutes, apparently, is control groups, good. Camera control groups, really good. Highly recommend. Very nice. And I actually really do like seeing what these guys are looking at on the minimap. It's fun. It's maybe a little bit distracting when you get a little too focused on the minimap, because you can see them, going everywhere. The white outline is where I'm looking, right? So it's, yeah, maybe a little bit distracting, but I don't think it's the end of the world. I like it. Now that you've seen it in a bunch of casts, what do you think? Let me know down below in the comment section. You like it? I mean, it's not something I can disable, so I hope you do, because I can't turn it off, okay? It's something that is on or it's not on, and if the players decide to host the lobby in the way that it is, yeah. That's it. Anyhow, ByuN going in with a bunch of Hellions right over here. There's a group of Zerklings available. I haven't really been paying very much so attention to the game, but that is an awful lot of drones for a very small group of Hellions. Okay, nice little bit of blocking over there by our Zerk player, but that is... That's 6 Hellions there. Yeah, he did sacrifice all the Hellions. It's very easy to look at this and be like, oh my god, Zerk lost the whole mineral line, it's GG. But then, you forget about the fact that Terran also just sacrificed 600 minerals worth. Now, I would say that those drones are more valuable than the Hellions. Although, don't tell the Hellions, because, they probably don't want to hear that. Either way, oh, I can't hear anymore. They're super dead. We did once again have Rogue transitioning. Very ambitious Viking. We did have him once again transitioning towards the Roach Warren. Fascinating. Another thing that's fascinating to me is these Evo chambers. While they are well protected, say there's like a double medevac drop over here, or like a siege tank drop right over. Like, how exactly are you gonna get in there? Anyhow, maybe it's not something that ByuN is gonna be able to produce or abuse, but it's a little bit strange. ByuN is gonna try and capitalize on that drone killing that he did earlier. He also decided to actually delay. Oh my god, never mind. He didn't delay anything at all. I was so busy talking about control groups that I wasn't actually paying exact attention to his build. He did not delay a third command center. He's not planning on building one. He's got 5 barracks right now. Well, he can make one if he really wants to, but I think he's trying to see if he can potentially win the game right here, right now. At the very least, he needs to justify making this big of an army. If he's just gonna go home right now, maybe it's the right call because there is a relatively large amount of Zerg, but it makes me kind of uncomfortable. I don't think you can really commit to making 5 barracks worth before a third command center and then still be fine. By the way, there is a changeling over here in the middle of this army pretending to be a marine. That is one of Rogue's little units right over there. So Rogue sees what's going on. Queen's already in the main base as well, waiting for the medevac drop to come in. It's been non-stop unit production here for a while as well from Rogue, who does hit a bit of a supply block. 1-1 is not going to be even remotely done. Okay, plenty of queens in the main base though. This is excellent right here for the Zerg, who's got full 3-base saturation. Well, almost anyways. And he's going to be able to produce way more stuff. Now, he needs to be careful, though, that he doesn't go too deep. He decides to go very deep off the creep. Okay. I mean, he's not that deep off the creep. It just makes me a little nervous, okay? Because he doesn't really need to go off creep at all. But I guess he also is a little concerned about the Terran player just wandering back home. So instead, decided to take a bit of a gamble there to clean it up before the Terran player decided to push up. I think ByuN probably would have gone, but apparently Rogue is like, I'm going to snatch up this army while it's still vulnerable. Fair enough. Yeah, so now it's a disaster for ByuN. Because he can't really harass very well. Well, I mean, he can try. Yeah, the rocks aren't down. He shouldn't be able to get the snipe on this base. Okay, well, that makes it a whole lot better. I guess even Rogue was like, there's no way he's gonna actually go around, right? That could be the cost of the medevac, though. Rogue thinking he's playing basketball a bunch of times already, trying to just snipe the medevacs out of the sky. A lot more Terran units are coming up on the back of this. Queens are pretty deep off the creep, too. ByuN, if you can, like, squeeze a rabbit out of... Wait, that's not it. Squeeze a rabbit out of a head? That's not it, man. Anyways, if you can squeeze the lemon out of the juice out... Anyways, you get what I'm trying to say. This is a bad situation, and it needs to get a lot of juice. There needs to be a lot of squeezing. Doesn't matter what it is, okay? Well, don't squeeze the rabbit. That's... Anyhow. This is an awkward game, bro. You really didn't need to make it this awkward. He really wanted to kill those rocks so badly, and then he really wanted to kill those medevacs so badly, too, that it created a very uncomfortable situation for both me, the rabbit, and him... and him... Okay, I'll shut up about the rabbit now. And himself. Yeah. ByuN once again showing us why his nickname is Micro Jackson. He's actually making such a good situation out of this. My god, it's been 48 SCVs for the better part of this game. Rogue, just go chill a little bit, man. Just go sit back a little bit, try to make the best of it. Well, there's a changeling underneath. Rogue trying his very best to prevent this command center from landing at the gold. Rogue, I think what you should do is just sit back, make an awful lot of units, and push when 2-2 is done. Rogue's like, no. That's not what I'm gonna do. You said something about a rabbit. I want to squeeze. No, don't do it, Rogue. Stop it. Whatever you do, don't squeeze. Now, this is awkward now. It's gonna be an orbital? Are you kidding me? You're gonna go for an orbital over there. All right, then. Greedy ByuN. This dropship, by the way, still being a nuisance. That's a dropship from earlier. I recognize that medevac out of 100. It's a very Marauder-heavy army. Siege tank right there on the high ground as well, though, trying to get a lot of work in. Rogue doesn't have high ground vision until that Overseer shows up. Okay, right now he's going to be okay, though. I think he will still have enough, but he made this so much harder than it needed to be. To the point where ByuN genuinely could start, you know, coming back. Ooh. Did the medevacs eventually get taken care of? I think it did. Yeah, I think they all got... Well, the ones in the top right anyways. Unless they got repaired back up, which I find hard to believe here in this chaotic game. Pretty sure they got picked off. Nice targeting right there once again by ByuN. ByuN is such a good player. Yeah, he made it much harder on himself here. Rogue, that is. But eventually, he does obtain the victory. Next up, Glittering Ashes. ByuN apparently sending out one of his SCVs right at the very start of the game. Second one also gonna move across. So ByuN, he's gonna go for a little bit of aggression. This is something that he, of course, likes to do. To be fair, ByuN was heavily out-controlling his opponent there in the second half of that previous game. I don't think I really liked any of the fights that Rogue ended up taking. It's just that Rogue had, like, you know, 50% more economy compared to his opponent. So it just, well, not quite, but mules are pretty good. But he had a lot more income, right? So at that point, you can also kind of splurge it on, well, I guess roaches and fight off creep and take some nasty engagements and still end up with more stuff. So maybe not an ideal set of fights right there and engagements for Rogue, but yeah, he ended up with enough things. We'll see, I guess, what Mr. ByuN is gonna go for over here. Rogue is sending overlords all around the map. He's got a drone over here too. He's scouting everywhere. He's gonna spot this, right? Oh my god, no, don't tell me he's got... Okay. Yeah, no, he is gonna see it. He is gonna see it. I was gonna say, he is looking everywhere with 2 overlords and then also a drone. If that wouldn't have scouted it, he would have been in a lot of trouble. Anyways, at this point, I think it's already a little bit too late for him to pull additional workers to try and shut this down before it really even gets started. So 2 Marines will be produced right over here at once. The SCV that was being punished apparently is getting a bit of a back massage right there. Always good. No one's ever complained about that. And Rogue is gonna go ahead and, I guess, get link speed going? I mean, he didn't leave the drones in the gas geyser. Kind of expected him to pull those out, but apparently, against the double Rex push, he's confident that he can still mine the gases as well without falling too far behind. It's always hard to see, right, if there's actually like a third barracks on the back of this as well. But I guess it's safe to say right now it's just a double Rex commitment. Good control here by ByuN so far. I mean, he does get the wraparound eventually. Bunker did finish, though. I don't think the Marines are going to be able to make it towards the bunker. A little bit of a late response right there by ByuN. 6 drones end up going down here in total. I don't think he's going to get more. He's going to try. If he can get into the bunker, that would be pretty great. No more back rubs. Nope. Sorry, buddy. Well, it's a more aggressive back rub anyways. Yeah, okay, so here's the situation. Here's the end result. 2 SCVs, 6 drones, 7 Marines, 7 Zerglings. In the end, it doesn't really matter all too much. Both players ended up taking a bunch of damage, but the real problem here is that ByuN, of course, didn't already have another command center. So he lost more time than his opponent did, which is definitely an advantage right here for Rogue, who knows he's not really got to worry about anything else for at least another minute or two. So for now, he can do whatever he likes. Apparently what he likes to do right now is get link speed and get a bunch of drones going, so he's not really going to commit to making more defensive tools. Right now he sees the barracks flying in too, so he knows that the absolute worst case scenario at this point would be like a couple of Hellions moving across the map, maybe a Banshee as a follow-up, something along those lines. But since the barracks were on the other side of the map too, you can't really go easily for both a Banshee rush and a Hellion rush, right? Because you need to have one of those structures to build the add-ons. So at this point, ByuN, yeah, he doesn't have the option to go for a tech lab over here. Well, he has the option to go for a tech lab, but he can't, like, rush it out. Meaning that he's kind of forced to play this awkward, slow game now. And that's where Zerg players really want to be. Like, in Rogue's dreams, I mean, I don't really know Rogue, right? But, like, in Rogue's dreams, he probably makes about 120 drones. He makes, like, 2 queens just for injects. He makes no Zerglings, no upgrades, no nothing. And then once he finally gets to, like, you know, 120 workers, that's when he finally starts actually doing things, right? Every Zerg player dreams of just making as many workers as possible. So, yeah, Rogue left to his own devices is definitely gonna try and fulfill that fantasy of his, right? Now, he did hit a bit of pretty, he did hit, there you go, a pretty big supply block. It is going to be cloaked Banshees, by the way, on the back of this eventually, but these are going to be super late. Normally the first Banshee would show up at about the 5-minute mark. These are going to be a good minute later, which can kind of sometimes work out, I guess. Sometimes you can kind of get that awkward advantage just because the opponent is no longer expecting it. Zerglings were produced. They do have link speed too. Once again, though, Hellions are going to drive in very deep. This is almost a little bit desperate right now for ByuN, but... 6 drones for 4 Hellions and a bunch of lost mining time. Yeah. I like it less in this game than I did in the previous one, because now there's nothing on the back of this either, right? So, in a way, you kind of show your hand. This does mean that there's definitely not the option to go for a very quick third command center. Or at the very least, you can make it, but you can't land it on the low ground right away, because you will need some sort of army. No energy available for well, there was energy on the queen here on the left at the very last second of that overlord's life, but apparently Brenda decided not to use it. Maybe Rogue tried, but didn't have enough energy. Okay, Cloak Banshee though could be quite nice. Yeah, this is almost like an anti-timing. Where Rogue is like, okay, you're supposed to show up at the 5-minute mark, now it's at the 6-minute mark. I know you were delayed a bunch, so maybe 5:30. But this is so late right now that Rogue wasn't really even expecting it anymore, so I guess a couple, yeah, ByuN that is, he gets a couple drone kills. Not bad whatsoever. Okay. Nicely done. Yeah, very nicely done right here, ByuN. I love the way that he's abusing the terrain over here. There's the second bench he's showing up too. So he's hanging out in locations where the spore crawlers can't, well, give the detection radius. Okay. Hellions driving at the front. There's already a ton of Zerglings set up, though. Rogue is setting a bit of a trap right now as he finally reveals the amount of links he's actually got. It isn't that many of them. Yeah, I don't think that's enough. This, by the way, is also a funny move that only someone like ByuN makes. Normally, you kind of send in the Hellions when you, you know, got enough of them. And you're like, okay, here's the Hellions. Ta-da! Deal as much damage as possible. And then ByuN apparently sacrificed a bunch of them earlier, and then he shows up again a few minutes later with even more. Normally, like, at the point... Okay, let me put it like this. You know, like, when we started refining, you know, iron as humans, we were like, okay, you know what? Bronze, it was kind of cool. But if we can go with iron right now, that's what we're gonna do, right? And at some point, we were like, oh my god, steel. That is, like, really exciting. Maybe this is not even historically correct. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that the age of the Hellion was over, right? So once the age of the Hellion is over, it's probably not correct. I can imagine there were a lot of people out. That analogy was terrible, Lowko. There's probably a lot of people that, you know, we definitely did not all start refining iron at the exact same time. Yo, can a historian in the comment section let me know if I'm even remotely correct? What I'm trying to say, though, is that by the time that the Hellions usually get sacrificed, there's not going to be any Hellions made anymore, unless it's like a mech game. Right? But ByuN is like sacrificing the Hellions and then still making about a dozen more. Which is not something you really expect, so that's also why Rogue had a relatively small amount of Zerglings right there to defend against it. But I kind of like it. It's ByuN doing ByuN things. And you know what? Despite the unfavorable start for him, yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. What time Rogue gained, he's apparently spent on making a spire. So he's going to try and take the map control by going Mutiling Bane, but there's no fourth hatchery or anything like that. ByuN is going to go into a second factory right now already. Okay, pretty quick. Well, all things considered, it's pretty quick. He's going to be able to start working on, yeah, playing the defensive game. I think very soon when the Mutas start roaming the map, it's going to be very hard for him to actually, yeah, take control of the map again until a little while later. Well, ByuN has shown us that before. Free siege tank, okay, as a peace offering. Never mind. No peace. We can have no peace! It's not what we do. Banshee, by the way, still very ambitious. Okay, that's like 4 or 5 half HP drones. Maybe not quite a deal, alright. At the same time, Mutas did go across the map. At this point, Banelings are not out yet. I mean, there's a couple of them out, but not enough. Baneling speed is done. Does Rogue have enough to try and clean off this? Oh my god, ByuN! Uncharacteristic mistake right there from our Terran player. Now the Mutas come back home as well, and they're like, don't mind if I do. Picking up whatever you can. A couple of Zerglings on the other side of the map too. That was not something we normally see happening from someone like ByuN. I've seen a couple of, yeah, spotty micro mistakes that we normally don't spot. Anyways, a little flimsy, right? A little bit. I mean, it's very easy to make mistakes with microing Marines. Don't get me wrong. But generally speaking, ByuN is the kind of guy who doesn't do that. This poor crawler. Too cool at this. Turned around, shot at it, and yeah, just killed it right away. Alright, well at the very least, ByuN is going to be able to now make transition towards the Widow Mines. So that's probably the plan. Produce Thors and Widow Mines and try and defend against the Mutiling Bane army that way, but he's definitely up with his back against the wall. +1/+1, very late here for Rogue. So he may very well stick around on just Mutiling Bane for a very long time too. So if ByuN can actually stay alive, finish up his own 2-2, finish up into 3-3 and stuff as well, oh, that'd be good. That'd be pretty good for him. This doesn't really look like a game where Rogue is going to plot down a infestation pit and go straight into a hive. Maybe he will, but I think he's probably going to try and make a bit of a bigger army before he does so, at the very least. So that should mean that ByuN can probably maintain the upgrade lead, and therefore I think he should be in a winnable state, assuming he doesn't take crippling amounts of damage here over the next few minutes. So far, yeah, he's doing an excellent job. 4th Command Center flying on over in this location. Burrow is coming up from Rogue, which... I think he's probably planning on burrowing Banelings or something like that. I like the idea, but I don't think that's his top priority as far as gas spending goes. I think he's going to go for a 5th hatchery over here as well. Or 6th hatchery. 5th is coming up right over there. Yeah, there's the infestation pit. Okay. Yeah, so despite getting the... Like, I don't really... Despite getting, like, the map control right here, Rogue is not really going to try and utilize it. So, like, that's what he's been building up the entire game long, and then he goes for a delayed infestation pit. I think it's probably mostly due to the fact that ByuN has been pushing him back so very nicely that he kind of feels forced to tech up. But this is definitely not going Rogue's way, despite the fact that he's still maxed out. The Terran unit composition is going to hit like an absolute truck. So I love this timing as well by ByuN moving out a little bit before 2-2 is done. In about 5 seconds, 3 seconds, 2, 1. That's when he starts properly fighting against these Zerg units. And I'd love to see him go straight into 3-3 too. That would be really good. He's got the money for it. There's the additional command centers coming up. Come on, ByuN, push the advantage. Well, Zerg is going to go into 2-2. If he doesn't get it, Rogue is going to be he's going to be able to pick up that advantage from the Terran player. Okay. The Thors are, by the way, here mostly to deal splash damage. There's 3-3 started, okay. So there will still be about a minute or so where ByuN will be ahead in upgrades, assuming Rogue doesn't delay his any further. He needs to get a hive up in order to go through 3-3. The reason, of course, why it's so important is because there's so many units at this point in the game that benefit from those upgrades. Especially in Terran versus Zerg, those upgrades are huge. Alright. Yeah, ByuN is defending. He's doing a great job just holding on. Not really running into a whole lot of issues. Now, if we're going to be playing the late game, I feel like the next step would be the Ghost Academy. ByuN is maxed out right now, but this is ByuN. I've said it many times before. It kind of depends on what ByuN we're dealing with today. Sometimes ByuN is like, you know what I need against Ultralisks? More Marines. Guess what I need against Brute Lords? Marines. Guess what I need against everything? Just, like, sometimes he just goes Marines and Medics. Or Medivacs, I suppose. Yeah, he's going 5 additional command centers. So that's where he's smashing his piggy bank right now. But I still have not seen a Ghost Academy. Maybe you already built it while I wasn't paying attention. No, it doesn't look like it, so it's... ByuN, please don't make it hard on yourself, man. Ultras are gonna have an absolute blast Or an absolute swipe. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. Against, yeah, just Marine Marauder-based armies. ByuN has, like, this is what ByuN does sometimes and it bothers me. He has all the opportunity in the world right now, all the money in the world to go ahead and go into Ghosts. Like, if this would be Maru playing, Maru would probably already have at least a dozen Ghosts. But ByuN is like, no, hold my beer, I got this. I'm just gonna go ahead and make more Marines, more Medivacs, more Marauders. That's what I did back in 2011, so that's what I do in 2022 as well. It's like, oh great, thank you. There's the Ghost, oh thank God, okay, there's a Ghost Academy. Sometimes he gets stuck though. And then he never transitions away from it. And it becomes a bit of an issue. Oh, well, this is a nice little exchange right over here for the Zerk. Despite the fact that I don't really like this game, or at least the way that it's going here for Rogue 2 too much, he's doing an excellent job building up his economy. So he's got 3-3. He's already got Adrenal Glands as well. Did he get Chitinous Plating? He did not. That's the Ultralisk armor upgrade. Ultras are basically pointless without it. So despite the fact that the Ghosts are very late, they're still going to be on time. Because apparently Rogue forgot getting one of his upgrades too. Yeah, I don't know, man. Sometimes, I've noticed this a lot in pro games. It never happens in like a Cero game, okay? Like, you will never see a Cero game where he goes for an Ultralisk Cavern and then not start up Chitinous Plating on the second that it finishes up. That just doesn't happen in a Cero game. But this happens all the time in Korean StarCraft 2, where they're like, you know what? I built the structure, but I considered better of it. I just decided not to do it. I decided not to make use of that structure. I just kind of wasted my piggy bank, right? It's okay. Maybe he'll use it later on. But, yeah. Apparently what you really need right now is not Ultralisks, not improving your unit composition, but like 30 Banelings going into a planetary fortress. Okay. Well, ByuN doesn't have a lot of money, but he definitely does have the superior army. Ghost Academy, put in a very awkward position, by the way, very risky position. So I think it will get picked off. Second Ghost Academy immediately coming up. That's what I'm talking about at the same point, though. Those Banelings, they have finished up. They will finish up the planetary too. Couple of those missile turrets, a few SCVs. Nicely done. That is a lot of Banelings though over the course of this game, and it's starting to get a little bit pricey. Luckily for Rogue, he's got 92 drones mining out a lot of stuff. My God. We're just gonna go mass Baneling apparently. That's very pretty. Looks like I've got my thumbnail! 17.5 minutes into the game. Lowko, don't forget. Anyways. Yeah, just make a couple hundred Banelings. That will do the trick. To be fair, it is extremely hard for Terran to counter a couple hundred Banelings. All jokes aside, what exactly do you do against a couple hundred Banelings other than micro? The problem with Banelings is, of course, that they're seldomly cost efficient. My God, he's got a lot of them. Yeah, he's got 71, and there's 27 more coming up. So Rogue is just going mass Baneling. He's finally got Chitinous Plating, by the way, so that's quite important. Mutas still being annoying. He's only lost 5 Mutas, by the way, which is really quite amazing. There goes the Baneling once again, but this time around, I quite like what Mr. Rogue has done, or what Mr. ByuN has done, rather. Instead of going for a planetary fortress on that base, he decided to go for a... What's it called? I'm gonna back off here for a second, sorry. I think there was a fight over here in the middle of the map, too. Yeah, so this is the Banelings right over here, Mutas over there, and then I think the army in the middle also went down. I was gonna say, there was a lot of Zerg somewhere, and it just disappeared. Oh, that Widow Mine! Oh, God! Okay, good thing I went back. I thought that there would be enough Banelings to take care of that planetary fortress, and there surely were. But this bad boy, I don't know if it's that bad boy, I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it got killed in the process. But one of those bad boys ended up taking care of that fight. Anyhow. Rogue has still got a bank that is, well, like 6,000, not quite, like a very, very large amount of resources better than his opponent. Okay, Zerglings right now getting wrapped around on those Thors as well. Once the Thors are gone, the Mutas can start joining in those battles a little bit easier too. This is rinse and repeat right now for Rogue. But he can't do this forever. That being said, there's not that much Terran remaining. And eventually, it's going to be Rogue who obtains the victory. All right, next up. 2,000 atmospheres. There is a good chance that Rogue decided to go for a mass Baneling against the Ghosts after ByuN scouted that there was the Ultralisk caravan, right? So there's a chance that ByuN scouted in the main base of the Zerg player that a Ultra transition was imminent, and that Rogue saw, that his opponent saw, that there would be, you know, Ultralisks, and therefore he knew that there would be Ghosts, because that's the go-to option that Terrans have been going for over the last half year or so. And then he decided, you know what, rather than going for a lot of Ultras, I'm just gonna make a lot of Banelings instead, because they counter the Ghosts. Does that make any sense? I mean, maybe I'm doing the caster thing where, you know, as a caster, you basically always give the players the benefit of the doubt, right? Whenever they're making a choice, it could possibly never be a mistake, right? That's not an option. It's definitely intentional. Now, we will probably never know, but that would at the very least explain the last few minutes of that game, because that was cool, but also a little bit confusing. Let's see where this is going to go. 2,000 Atmos is going to be our final map for today. Both of these guys have played, well, thousands of games on this map, I'm sure. At least hundreds, okay? But I wouldn't be surprised if it's thousands. Kind of depends on the amount of Maple Story that Rogue has been playing lately. Well, I shouldn't actually be talking. If you guys have been watching the stream lately, you may have noticed that I have, after not playing it for about 13 or 14 years, I decided to start a new character in RuneScape. So, you know what? I can't roast Mr. Rogue anymore. I can't do it. But yeah, old school RuneScape has been pretty fun, not gonna lie. Okay, you really wanted to get that Creep Tumor, but the Reaper had no health. You can try and be brave, but probably not ideal. Are we gonna go for a quick little Roach Warren again, Rogue? Standard opener for now. If it is gonna be a quick Roach Warren, usually it gets planted at about 3.5 minutes into the game. Maybe 3 minutes if you're feeling very aggressive and you want to delay the what's it called, the Zergling speed. Rogue though, already starting that one up. He's leaving 2 drones in gas. Interestingly enough, you mined 100 gas first. Okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So after an extra queen in the natural, he's gonna go for the OV speed upgrade. This is the I don't respect you start. Or at the very least, I don't believe whatever lies you're trying to tell me out of your main base start. Where Zerg is going to be able to get a full view of exactly what it is that the Terran player is going for by going for those, well, those overlords with speed. But obviously, it's going to culminate at the expense of, well, researching Nomatized Carapace right now, which isn't one of the most, yeah, it's not one of the most expensive upgrades, but oftentimes you're better off just going to a lair and then an Overseer instead. This is a very specific start here for Rogue, but I think it should be okay. Formula 1 Overlord. Flying straight into the main. They call him Max. Okay, no, they probably don't call him Max. Don't give your Overlords names. At the very least, you can maybe give them names, but don't grow too attached. I can speak from experience. Here come the Hellions. They're gonna go around. That's a bit awkward. Yeah, that's a little bit awkward. Not really the biggest fan of that bit of control right there. You never know with ByuN though, there might be more more aliens on the back of this. Another Banshee, ready to go. He's gonna wait until the Banshee cloaking field is done, which is 3 seconds away. And then he's gonna fly it back home. No, I think he's waiting until the second one shows up too. At this point though, he's been scouted, so it's always a little bit tricky. Did he cancel the second? No, he did. Wait, where did he? Oh, it was just... Was it literally on the screen and I didn't see it? Nice. Maybe it wasn't. Anyhow, defense right now has been absolutely on point here by Rogue. Not really taking any damage. ByuN is the one who killed 1 worker, but that's about it. And that is definitely something Rogue is going to be happy with. He decided to go for the lair. Decided to go for the Baneling nest. This does mean that his upgrades are going to be quite late. Definitely later than ByuN's, who's now starting up his NG base, or finishing up his NG base, but... This is, of course, not an uncommon spot for Zergs to be in at all. Generally, yeah, they'll go for those evos a little bit later. So I think that this is just the lair timing to be able to go into an Overseer. And then also to go into Baneling speed. So this is Rogue cleaning things up a little bit. Yeah, whenever you see an early Overlord speed build working out, like the way that that Rogue is playing it right here, you wonder why it's not played more frequently, right? Because this is some stellar defense right here from the Zerg. I don't think he's going to be able to snipe this hatch. I mean, ByuN's going to try. If the queens don't split up, they might be able to. Yeah, the Banshees are trying their very best. Okay, Baneling speed, +1/+1. Baneling speed should be done by the time that Terran has got a big push underway as well, so... This is going to make it very difficult right now for our Zerg to... Or for our Terran, rather, to be able to deal a lot of damage. Okay. A Dropper Lord is coming up. Interesting. Didn't expect it to come up over here. That's a bit of a funky spot. Is this a fake Overlord drop? Like, what exactly is the plan? I'm not sure. Keep an eye out on it. Hydral is then coming up as well for Rogue. Could just be Hydraling Bane. Very common, of course. Could also be a transition towards Lurkers eventually. Could also be both. Yeah, so no real kills for the Terran player. Obviously, Terran's still in a pretty good spot as well, though. Don't get me wrong. It's just at the early game, I do favor the way that Zerg is playing this out a little bit more. Okay, Hellions over here. Still alive, still kiting. Nicely done right here by ByuN. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but he's getting a lot of value out of the units. Most Terrans would just sort of send those away. Rogue going for a fake Baneling drop inside of his opponent's natural. Trying to force those SCVs to run away, because this is what ByuN sees, right? Like, oh no, could be Banelings, Banelings! If he at some point comes in with an actual Baneling drop, I'm gonna lose my mind. That would be amazing. Because right now he's patrolling back and forth. If he's gonna... Ooh! Okay, good hits right there. If he's gonna follow this up with an actual Baneling drop and then ByuN is like, you know, trained himself to no longer pay attention at that one location on the map, that would be amazing. Nope. He just never saw. I don't think he noticed a single time. So eventually, the 7th time that Overlord went back, that's apparently the point where ByuN pulled the SCVs. Yeah, he was probably so busy looking at the actual army that he wasn't paying attention to the minimap. Not something we normally see at this level of play, I'll be honest with you, but... That was not the fastest response time right there by ByuN. Anyhow. That's a mental advantage, more so than anything else. Doesn't actually win you the game, but... It does trigger the opponent. And honestly, if you can make your opponent salty... You may just be able to obtain the game regardless of how well you're playing. Fourth command center just about to finish up. ByuN going into 2-2, going into concussive shells. Nice retargeting there once again by the Terran. Rogue trying his very best. He's not really winning the fights as far as like the control goes, but... Rogue, that is, but he's just got more stuff. Like, whenever there's, like, a fight going on, there's always more. And I just want to highlight the creep spread as well for a little bit. If you look at the minimap, he's been painting it wherever he can, right? He's got creep moving around everywhere. And the more creep there is, the harder it's going to be for our Terran player to actually push. So usually we'll see fights happening as soon as 2-2 finishes up, as soon as 3-3 is finishing up. But ByuN is going to need, like, an extra minute just to try and mitigate all of that creep spread. Okay, now suddenly, actually, the planetary has not been morphed in yet. There's just a huge amount of Zerg up north. Maybe ByuN has gotten a little bit too aggressive? No, I think he's just barely got enough. Yeah, you gotta be careful, though. If you lose little bits of army here and there, then suddenly you might just find yourself with not enough stuff to actually defeat a relatively minor Zerg ball. At the same time, Zerg moving in with Banelings as well as a bunch of Zerglings. Is ByuN gonna check this location on the map twice? He will, because he just stimped those units, but is he gonna be able to save the SCVs? Well, at least a few of them will end up going down. Well, 16 is a little more than a few, Lowko. I'm having a conversation with myself. I'm so desperate for a co-commentator that apparently I'm having conversations with myself. So what did you think of that, me? I thought that was pretty good, me. I'll have multiple voices as well. Is this an issue? Is this a problem? How many more years of solo casting can I do before I will undoubtedly lose my mind? Well, hopefully a good amount more, because I really enjoy solo casting. Me too. Okay, sorry. that was bad. One thing I do really like here from Mr. ByuN is 3-3. Again, I know I hammer on this a lot, but like, you gotta look at opportunities, right? In a game of StarCraft 2, when you're behind, you gotta look at opportunities. Well, if it's up to Rogue, he's thinking, well, I just have way more stuff. Maybe I'm not gonna be giving my opponent that opportunity anymore. They're just rolling in more Banelings. My god, how many how many Banes did Rogue make in these games? Okay, I was thinking maybe there's a chance ByuN can climb his way back into the match by utilizing those upgrades, but Rogue didn't want to give him the chance. Brilliant series right there from the Zerg, showing us why he's still amongst the very best.